from the eyes of the boy.
When I was here in May with my partner, we went to Hongdae and tried to find lesbian bars or clubs to go to because we wanted to see it. We couldn't find any, and then we just stumbled upon Bar Mung, which is a lesbian bar, by accident. And then we just walked in and they were like, do you know what this is? Do you know what kind of bar this is? And we're like, is this a lesbian bar or did we strike out again? They're like, no, it is. So we just happened to find one by accident because we were just winding up through the alleyways of Hongdae. It's crazy that they're so just hidden. Like you have to go up this alley and this alley and then, do a secret dance and, wiggle. And then, yes, you get in.
And a handshake. Yeah, and then you find it.
Yep. Is it the one with the sparkly
streamers? Barcode is the Bear Bar. See Barcode to your left? It's actually a couple more buildings down.
And it even has a little rainbow triangle.
Yeah.
What the hell? Why can't I have signage like that for a lesbian bar?
See? We're suddenly in the neighborhood.
Yep. Oh yes, I see flashing lights.
I know.
I'm waiting to hear share, and then I'll know that I'm here in the neighborhood.
We finally made it here. That was a long-ass hike. Okay, we made it.
It was worth it.
You saw, we walked around the corner, and all of a sudden there was, gay men on the street.
Yeah.
We've been walking for literally feeling like days.
They all had better legs than I did.
It feels more like I'm a part of the gay culture here.
Yeah.
When I go to Itaewon, it's like being a part of a Western, cruisy culture.
Yep. And I think that's why I never felt a big pull to go to Itaewon to experience the gay culture there. It's because it's like, I can experience that back home in Minneapolis. That's what I experienced when I decide to go out to a gay bar. Is
to the 90s, or the saloon, or anywhere else.
Exactly. It was like, I only came here because I want to experience Seoul LGBT culture.
I met Chelsea through talking on the LGBT panel. She was one of the panelists who presented. She hadn't experienced the gay scene here or been out to the clubs, and so we thought it would be really fun to get together and do kind of a night out. I think the most important thing was for her to have a rounded out understanding of it's not just Homo Hill. There is actually culture here that feels really different than that. Growing up as an adoptee was really interesting, and it was a really different experience for me than even for my sister, for example. Our mom is Dutch, our dad's Norwegian. And my parents never, ever, ever made us feel like it was wrong to be adopted. We always felt really loved by my parents. My relationship with my adoptive family growing up was a really incredible one. When I was little, and actually to this day, my dad was the best father you could think of. He would come home from work and play catch with me outside. He always had time to be a great dad. Of course, when you're little, you don't appreciate that the way that you do as you get older. And for me now, especially having a son, I have a huge appreciation for the effort and the energy it took to keep us really engaged. My mom was amazing. She really did everything she could to make sure that we understood what family looked like. She was always really invested in making sure that we felt really connected to family and that the family felt really connected to family, and she's still like that. But they also struggled. They struggled specifically with me. I always questioned everything and didn't want to do things the way that you're supposed to do them, and so they had a hard time with that. I first realized that I was a boy before I even started elementary school. People used to always say I was a tomboy, which bothered me because I think in my head I thought, well, I'm not a tomboy because that means that's a girl who is more boyish. And I'm not a girl who's more boyish. I'm just a boy. It just didn't really occur to me that I wasn't. And to hear people say that I was not a boy, like that was really hard for me to accept. But at every sort of milestone as a female, everything from like physically developing to, I remember the first time I had to wear a bra and how upset I was. And this was another confirmation that my body is female. It was really, really challenging to accept my body and what that meant about me in an already confused state about who I am and trying to fit in. I wasn't really able to separate out my identity issues until I was probably in my late 20s and even into my early 30s. I can look back on it and see how it all came together and created what felt like chaos. I had a series of really challenging times emotionally. My family really struggled with how I dealt with searching for my identity, and I really struggled with it myself. And I attempted suicide. I really just had a series of years that were just very low. I'd say a little over, probably about a decade, that was just really, really low. I lived in a placement for kids who couldn't quite deal with what was happening in their families, and I lived there until I was 18. I got out of there and I tried college, and I had some really, really awful events happen for me at college that I then dropped out of college and just had another series of really, really, really trying times. I got really into drugs and, a variety of other things and tried to commit suicide again. When I was 21, I decided to move to California, and I knew that if I didn't move, I was not going to make it. My parents were not happy when I moved to California. They were really, really worried that I was going to die and they were never going to know about it. We had this huge, blow up prior to my move, and it was really, really emotional. But it was what saved my life. I had a psychiatrist who refused to commit me. She was like, "You're struggling. You've had a tough time. I know you can deal with this." She was one of the first people that I felt like she really believed in me as a person. It was kind of the next step in growing up. Realized, okay, I have a career. I've been able to finish school. I've done a lot of the things that were really important to me, and the one piece that hasn't ever really fit for me was my body. And it was this realization for me that that was something that I had never really dealt with. I had moments where I was ready to deal with it, but then decided it wasn't possible or it wasn't time. So I think in 2007, when I started that conversation again, it became very obvious to me that it was time and to make some decisions about how I wanted to live my authentic life. So I moved and started using male pronouns and started trying out my name and different things, and then that sort of started the process. Interestingly for me, though, transitioning was never about reinventing myself. It was literally always just about physically matching. I had the tough conversations with people, but I knew that I never wanted to change who I was. I just wanted to physically match. The first time I came to Korea, it was really exciting and overwhelming, and I was by myself. I didn't know anybody else. I had never done anything with Korean adoptees. I had no idea it existed. So I was really overwhelmed just by having so many adoptees around. Seeing the different culture, I think, was just so much that I really enjoyed it. I left thinking wow, that was really great. But I didn't have this sense of I felt so connected. I think I wanted to have that. I really wanted to come back and be oh, this is where I belong. I was clearly, masculine presenting woman. There was a lot of things about being a female who did not fit in here that made it really hard for me to feel really connected. Being here for the second time, I feel the way I thought I would feel the first time. I feel really connected to Seoul. The city and the way that the city is and how much I just really love the hustle and bustle of the city. I think a part of that is experiencing the city as a male, as a Korean male. I think that plays a big role in feeling like I fit. When I came here the first time as a woman who did not fit in with other women, I didn't look like Korean women. I didn't feel like Korean women. Nothing about the culture of Korean women was a part of what I wanted to be in. As a Korean man and experiencing just the culture here, I get to see it in a different light. I don't feel like I stick out. I feel like I get to fit in a way that I wanted to fit in before. And now that I don't feel that insecurity, I can walk down the street and not feel insecure about my body. It plays a huge role in how connected I get to feel and how much I want to go out and explore and be a part of the city.
Sometimes I break down, sometimes I wither from the wind, piercing through my skin, in and out my soul. And then I realize that all I've ever learned to love is something I can never truly understand. You're just like a mystery, tell me what's underneath. I just want to figure like the shape of your silhouette.
Hey NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.